Hello and welcome to another episode of the F1Breakdown podcast. Firstly, I'm going to start off with some sad news that Professor Sid Watkins, the F1 doctor for the past, for the ex-F1 doctor from 1978 to 2004, sadly passed away on Wednesday because he lost his fight with cancer, which is a shame. Because Sid Watkins was he was an absolute fantastic man. I wasn't around when he was doing most of his major work, but the stories that have been told from years gone past that he has saved many people's lives and he has helped bring forward the safety aspects so far that we have in Formula One. Like, go back a couple of weeks to the Belgium Grand Prix when we had that first incident crash. Go back 20 years ago, that sort of crash could have seriously injured someone. But Professor Sid Watkins has really helped establish and make more safety in Formula One. Make sure there is safer, so drivers are safer. There's been many tributes to him. I saw Mine Brundle said that he saved his left foot from being amputated. He was there when Senna died. He couldn't do anything, and Senna was like an instant death. But he was there. He saved many people's lives. Helped recover much more quickly. And it's a sad loss of Formula One that he has died. So rest in peace, Sid Watkins. And we'll move on to some more cheery notes now. Back with the Formula One, looking back at the Monza Grand Prix in Italy. Lewis Hamilton won the race. It was a great race from Lewis Hamilton. He really did well. That first corner, defending from Felipe Massa, really set the tone for the race that he was up for this. It was a very good defending move. And yeah, he was strong. I thought he would be strong. I said in the last podcast, I think I had him for second. Correct me if I'm wrong. To finish, but he won that race. It was a very good race. I did say he was strong there. And he proved it really, truly, because that was a great race. And then we had Perez finishing second. Now, that was, yet again, fantastic race from Perez. Yet again, the one stop, he just seems to really be able to nurse those tyres, really be able to get the best out of those tyres, which is, fantastic. Sergio Checo, as he is called by his team always on the radio, get Checo, well done. So we get every race from Checo. But, he's consistently outperforming his teammate Kamui Kobayashi, which is kind of strange. Well, not strange because Sergio Perez is all deserved. He has worked really hard and driven fantastically well. But we all like Kamui Kobayashi. We all think his aggressive nature, with his overtakes that he does. And he showed that Kamui Kobayashi at Spa that he was good enough. He got the second place in qualifying, but he just hasn't been there in the races. And I don't know if that's just not been luck or some stuff going wrong that we haven't seen on the cameras. But, he's consistently being outperformed by Sergio Perez, and that's why there is speculation of his seat becoming up for grabs at Sauber because Perez is outshining him. But I think everyone in the paddock would agree Kamui Kobayashi is a good driver, but why he's being outperformed by Sergio Perez could be a confusion to many other people in the paddock, because people had so much praise for Kamui Kobayashi when he came into the sport, and now that seeing he's being dominated by a much younger teammate, he's raising question marks. So we'll see what happens with that. I reckon Kamui and Sergio will be a Sauber driver next year, but you never know what happens in Formula One. There's still a lot of talking going around at the moment. I want to just briefly touch on Mercedes, because Mercedes had a good race. Okay, they had a decent race from what they've had in previous races. But I said this in one of my earlier podcasts, and I said it in one of my blogs when I talked about Mercedes, a review on Mercedes, and what might be going wrong. What I find interesting is that at the beginning of the season, as I've said, they thought, okay, let's get a handle on the tyres, and let's try and improve the tyres, and if we're good on the tyres, then we can actually go somewhere and maybe progress a bit further, maybe win a few races. But they did that instead of like the conveyor belt that Red Bull, McLaren and Ferrari did for producing new parts. They would focus on the tyres. But now, in Italy, they were virtually the worst on the tyres. And you're like, hang on a minute, how can you spend that much time working on tyres and you're still the worst one on tyres? Because, they did the two-stop strategy, and, Lotus, Kimi Raikkonen, said the wrong driver. But Kimi Raikkonen was, he did the one-stop strategy, did for a really long stint on that, on the last set that he did, I think it was over 30 laps he did on the last set of tyres, but Mercedes had to do two stops, but, Michael Schumacher was in front of Kimi Raikkonen and he finishes just behind him. So it is costing them points for the championship. So I don't think Mercedes will be very happy with that. Moving on, it was a bad day for Red Bull. As I said, I predicted this. Red Bull straight line speed, not their friends. But I wasn't expecting 2 DNFs. Vettel was it with the alternator problem again, and then Mark Webber's spin, which was just on safety concerns. The flat spots were just really bad, and you could tell when he was just coasting around and you saw the flat spots, you thought, yeah, you understand why they're pitting him in to being retiring on safety grounds. But yeah, it wasn't good for Red Bull. Wasn't good at all. Moving on, Vettel's penalty. Well, yeah, I think it was deserved. I know there's been a lot of saying, well, Fernando Alonso did that to him last season. And initially, when I watched it on the TV screens, I thought, Vettel's getting his own back down on Fernando Alonso for what happened last year. But then if you look at the two side by side, you see that Alonso did actually leave him a bit of room, and Vettel took to the grass just to be safe, because he didn't take that much to the grass. Whereas Fernando Alonso was all over on the grass and near the gravel trap. Whereas Vettel was like half and half on the racetrack, half on the, or maybe 3/4 on the racetrack. It was kind of, yeah, but it was much closer to the racetrack than Fernando Alonso was. So I see that there was probably dangerous side in that, because you can't push a driver of the track, and plus with the stewards at the moment being really strict and being told to be consistent in what they're doing. So you can understand why the penalty is given. I know Red Bull thought it was a bit harsh because that's what happened last year with Alonso. But I think Vettel just pushed it a little bit more than Fernando Alonso did. So yeah, but I reckon now that's it for Red Bull. Not as in that's it, that's their finish. As in that's the end of their bad run. I reckon Singapore now is a very high downforce track, a lot of corners, a lot of twists, and that is Red Bull territory. So I reckon Red Bull now will be very good towards the end of the season. And, could help Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel get back into the championship, because they fell back obviously with the 2 DNFs. But I reckon their car will be up there and they will be able to take points off Fernando Alonso, because I don't think Ferrari have the quickest car at the moment. So yeah, keeping on the subject of Singapore, street circuit, another street circuit, but much wider. It's not like Monaco where you can't overtake under the night sky. It will be a great event. Anyone who's going, I think they will really enjoy that one. It is a really long race. This is probably the best thing for F1 fans like myself. 2 hours virtually, nearly 2 hours, literally on the limit of the 2 hour mark of watching Formula One, which is fantastic, I think. But yeah, really is one of the worst tracks for drivers, as I said, because it's so, you really can't rest for like that 2 hours. You have no break, and driving a Formula One car, you need to be extremely physically fit. And to do that for nearly 2 hours is a great skill. That's why most of the drivers don't like it, and said it really, works on them really hard. But Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Raikkonen, second and third in the championship, separated by 1 point, and then still in a bit of a gap again to Fernando Alonso. So they will be looking to finish ahead of Fernando if they can. I think Lewis can. I'm not too sure about Raikkonen. I'm not, their device system is not in place again at Singapore, so I can't. And Lewis, they say that Lewis have a very quick car in the race, and they show that in the practice sessions, and they show that they have a very quick car on the race pace simulation. But in the races, it just hasn't seemed to go their way. They're off the pace. Their qualifying is poor. And, if they qualified second, third, or first, then yeah, we might be able to see this race car in action. But the qualifying has really let them down. So I can't really see Lotus being up there. McLaren, yeah, Lewis Hamilton is going to be there, and I think McLaren's car is really quick at the moment. So Lewis will be there, and he'll be taking points, and I think Lewis will soon, if nothing happens to Lewis Hamilton, because we know he can get into a few crashes and a few wars with some other drivers, but if everything stays clean for Lewis Hamilton from now to the end of the season, he'll be right up there going for his second world championship. I think he'll give Fernando Alonso a good run for his money. But I reckon, though, I'm not saying he's going to be an early championship contender. I think both Red Bulls will come back, because they're going to be strong, I reckon, for the rest of the season so far. That is really it for this podcast, really and truly. Looking forward to the next 2 races. Any news that's come out, really, Jenson Button not going to help Lewis Hamilton with his title. I think, okay, as much as he says that, if results keep going as they are at the moment for McLaren, there will be, and if Jenson Button was ahead of Lewis Hamilton on the track, and Fernando Alonso says 5th, and Button and Hamilton are 2nd and 3rd, I reckon there will be a switch called if it was coming down to like India, and Lewis Hamilton's like 18, 19, 20 points behind Alonso. I think there will be a switch. I think there will be a stage where they're going to have to put team orders, because Button is really falling back, and I know as much as he doesn't want to become number 2 driver for the remaining of the season and have all the emphasis put on Lewis and helping Lewis out, because no driver wants that. But I can see at a stage where he's just going to have to accept that this season has gone away from him. He's had a few poor results at the beginning of the season and midway through the season, so he's going to be a time, I reckon, where there will be a call, and it has to be a call. It'd be stupid if there isn't a call, to be perfectly honest, from McLaren. So I will keep an eye on that, really and truly. I reckon there will soon be team orders, and especially if you can even see team orders in Singapore. If Button's winning, that would be really cruel. Okay, that would be cruel if Button was winning, Hamilton 2nd, Alonso's 3rd. Just to get an extra 10 points off Fernando Alonso's lead and drop Hamilton into 1st and drop Button into 2nd. It would be cruel on Jenson Button, but the championship has to come first, and Button is sort of out of it. So Lewis, really and truly, I think will be the main runner for McLaren, and with the Red Bulls having 2 DNFs, you want to get as many points off them as possible before, because they'll be taking points off each other. That's what's going to really happen now for the rest of the season, and McLaren won't want that, and they're going to have to admit sooner rather than later that Jenson Button really and truly is out of this year's championship. But Button, we all know he's a good driver. He'll be there next season. So, and I know he's probably thinking to himself, I don't have maybe many seasons left in Formula 1. I'm in my 30s. And he might be thinking, well, he's only in his early 30s, but he might be thinking he's got 4 or 5 seasons left. So, he's still got a chance maybe to get a 2nd World Championship. But we'll see where that goes for Jenson Button. So I think it's time for my predictions for the Singapore Grand Prix. I've got Sebastian Vettel to win. I think the high downforce nature of the Singapore circuit and the street circuit, it is Red Bull territory. Monaco was sort of Red Bull territory, and Mark Webber and the Red Bull won there. I've got Lewis Hamilton to finish 2nd. I think Lewis, he'll be going for it. He knows, and that championship is in his sight. He knows he's got a faster car than than Fernando Alonso, and I think he'll try and end this contract negotiation talks that he is in with McLaren at the moment. Keep proving to McLaren that he is a world-class driver. And he says there's talks, but if he does want to move, this sort of driving that he's doing at the moment, if he can carry on into the championship and take points off Alonso, he's going to open the shop window doors for many teams like Mercedes. If he wants to go to Mercedes, I'm not sure that would be the best move for him. Or Red Bull, if Mark Webber goes, and I don't think Daniel Ricciardo or John Ericsson's ready, or Ferrari if he wants to go to Ferrari. But if he goes to Ferrari, I can't see Ferrari, because Ferrari really truly, go back the years, there's always had a number 2 driver. Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. Kimi Raikkonen and Massa were kind of equal, but you think because Raikkonen was going through, they emphasised more on Raikkonen. But it's always quickly becomes a one-man team. When Massa was dominating in 2008, it became Massa, and Raikkonen sat back in 2007. It was Raikkonen and Massa sat back. And then obviously 2010-9 onwards, it was Fernando Alonso from 2010 onwards. So going on with the predictions, 3rd for Mark Webber. I think, as I said, it will be a good race for Red Bull. And 5th will be Kimi Raikkonen, and the lowest I think he'll be up there. I don't think the Mercedes will be up there or anything. So we'll see how it goes for that. So basically that is the end for this podcast. We'll have another podcast after the Singapore Grand Prix, or if any breaking news comes up that is worth putting a podcast out there for, to keep the YouTube viewers and the viewers that come onto our website and click on the podcast page to listen to. So basically, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, you can comment, give your predictions on our forum or on the YouTube or on Facebook. And and thanks for listening.